So, good morning, East Texas. Here we are this morning on midterm. In today's midterm, we're going to be focusing on pregnancy and the effects. Now, we hear the words like embryo, fetus, lacto, and NATO, and do we really know what those mean? So, just in saying those words, we know feto means fetus, embryo actually means to be full. And lacto, all us ladies know that means milk. And then you have NATO, and you have like the neonatal center. That's birth. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pass this over to Tori, and Tori's going to share more about just pregnancy and effects.
Okay, so one problem that can occur during pregnancy is ectopic pregnancy, and this is when a pregnancy occurs outside of the uterus. It typically occurs in the uterine tubes, and so that pregnancy would not be viable. They would have to take that fetus out. Preeclampsia is something that pretty commonly occurs. That's high blood pressure occurring during pregnancy or shortly after birth, and the cause is typically unknown, and if left untreated, it can lead to eclampsia. And eclampsia is severe progression of preeclampsia, and that's characterized by convulsions, and that can be life-threatening. And one more major problem is placenta previa. That's abnormally low implantation of the placenta on the uterine wall. So when the cervix dilates, the placenta may separate, and that results in bleeding. And to stop that bleeding, the mother may have to have an emergency cesarean section to save her life. So I'm going to pass it over to Leslie. She'll tell you more about that.
To elaborate on what Tori said, there's also something that can happen called a rupture placenta, and that's where the placenta completely separates from the uterus prior to birth, and it causes uncontrollable bleeding, and you'll need to get a C-section immediately. A cesarean, which we also call C-section, that's where they cut through the abdominal walls to get the fetus. Something that happens if you have to have or get to have a natural birth is you may need to get an episiotomy, which is where the perineum is cut so that it won't tear while you're giving birth. And a tubal ligation, what we normally call getting our tubes tied, is where the fallopian tubes are tied and cut after you have birth and you choose not to have children anymore. So Jabril is going to give a little bit more information on pregnancy.
I'll be talking about the effects of the problems during pregnancy that can affect the child afterwards. Cleft lip or palate is when there's a split of the lip or in the roof of the mouth. Down syndrome is an abnormality in the chromosomes and is characterized by varying degrees of intelligence, developmental and physical disorders or defects. Spina bifida is a congenital defect in the vertebral column caused by failure of the vertebral arch to close. And an erythroblastosis fetalis is the incompatibility of the mother's blood and the child's blood.
So, East Texas, that's today on midterm. We'd like to make a clause. None of us are doctors or anything like that. So if you think you have any of the following, please see your physician. And if you have any questions, make sure you go to your doctor. Thank you for joining us today.